Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Small Talk Bigger Ideas. I am your host, Neil Lopez, and on this podcast, I interview fellow creators, entrepreneurs, artists, musicians, and all the sorts alike. And on this podcast, we just basically talk about their business, their creativities, and their passion, and we just have freestyle conversation. And we hope with our small talk, it will lead you and motivate you to come up with a bigger idea. Today's guest is Neil Lee Griffin.
Hello.
He is a audio engineer and post-production. Oh, sorry, I screwed that all up. And I just asked him. He is a composer and a post-production audio engineer. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much after I already messed up.
It happens.
Yeah. So thank you very much for coming on to the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. I actually got to meet Neil at the Filmmaking Network event that was put on by Alex Loaiza and Dominique Mancini.
Yeah, shout out to Dom for putting on that panel.
Right. Yeah, you did really good. I think a lot of people loved your message, and hopefully we can touch on that in the episode as well. Yeah,
Thank you. It wasn't planned.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's always like the best, right? Just to have freestyle conversation.
Right.
But, you got the ovation. No one else did.
Right.
So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
So, tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about you.
Well, I grew up in Spartanburg.
Mm-hmm.
I was really the only one in my family to ever pick up an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did it late. I was like 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I started taking keyboard lessons from the late David Haddix, who is no longer with us, but he taught me a lot just about music and musicians and that kind of lifestyle. But it really helped show me the groundwork of what music is.
Mm-hmm.
And from then I taught myself guitar and then put out some records in my 20s and then got married, and then we started Antler Hill with me and my wife and put out a few records under that name, and
Oh, wow, great.
here we are now.
So you're a musician as well?
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
Up until COVID.
Oh, well, yeah. COVID has been a bastard to all of us. So that's pretty cool. But besides, that's your story of how you got started as well. You do post-production audio processing for films.
Right.
So that's very, very intriguing because you're the first audio engineer that I've met that does that.
Really?
Yep. And I may need to call on you when I do my short film with Alex.
Yeah, man. Just let me know.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously you were doing the music stuff before COVID. So are you focusing more now on post-production, with the audio of films, or is it kind of still a mixture of both? Is there one or the other that you are going to continue to pursue?
Well, I've sort of steered the music into film scoring.
Okay.
And like producing for other artists. I'm doing a record with Mad Girl Academy right now, and I do beats for rappers. I've done a few from some rappers in Charlotte.
Okay.
But outside of that, the only music right now is film music.
Okay, gotcha.
Which
So stuff
that's
like
what I've always wanted to do.
right.
So I'm happy to be able to do it.
Right. So just to kind of iterate on what type of music, like background music, scores, things of that nature, is what you do?
I mean, for film?
Mm-hmm, for
Right.
film. Yes.
Yeah. So the orchestral stuff,
Okay.
Just any musical, anything really that goes into a film.
Right.
That's
Pretty much what you do.
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I mean, like, how does one get into wanting to do that, the audio engineering side for films?
Well, for me, it was just I love sounds,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be working on these films, and they would send me the audio, and it's like something needs to be done here, and it's surprising how many of them were like, I don't hear anything wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people are mixing on their laptops because, it's all they have. And there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But it's you're not going to be able to hear the nuances of sounds that are there, that when you pump them through a bigger system, that's just going to get amplified.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. So a lot of people nowadays, especially musicians, are just, like you said, using their laptop because that's all they have. And in some cases, that's completely fine. But I think obviously you go a bit more in depth when you're, I guess, dissecting, if you will, audio.
Right, because you've got the dialogue track, which in film, dialogue is king. You know, everything needs to be heard.
Crispy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, depending on the scene.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Because audio is so subjective because everybody hears things differently.
Right.
So it's like it's opinions. You know, it's like on a film, the director has final say. You know, and I may do something and he's like, I don't like it. And I'll explain why I did it. And sometimes he's like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
And other times he's like, no.
Right, because he had in something in his mind, a different ear for what he thought it should sound like.
Right, and it's my job to put everything together and still make the director happy.
Right, gotcha.
You know, because you've got to add in the room tone and the ambience and then the Foley and everything else, and then have the music in it and not have everything fight for the same frequencies.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Total sense. So out of the work that you've done with films, is there a specific genre or a specific kind of film that you like doing more as far as the audio engineering for? Do you have kind of like a sweet spot, if you will?
I just love film. You know, like watching movies. I like the thrillers and scary stuff, but working on films, I mean, I just like everything.
Gotcha. Now,
storytelling.
Right. And that's a big part of it. And just like I take a good bit of time when I choose my music selection for my wedding films, because that, like you said, can tell a story.
Right.
And it makes in my opinion, makes the film more personable, passionate, you know, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah.
That's what music is.
Right.
You know, I mean, take the opening of Star Wars. Take out the music.
Right.
It's just reading.
Right.
And that's not fun.
Right.
I didn't come to a movie to read.
They're synonymous for that song, that theme song. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can always identify it. And that's pretty cool too.
But you throw that on, you know, the title comes up and it's like, all right.
Right. Before the words even start coming up, you know, okay, this is Star Wars.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome.
Right. So I imagine you do a lot with, say, mixers, kind of like this one, but I'm sure much more advanced.
A lot of what I do, honestly, is in the box.
Okay.
What that means is all in the computer.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So do you prefer hardware versus software?
I'm a big software guy, but the more I do this, I see the appeal of hardware just for the sake of owning it and not like having to re-up a subscription to use something.
Pay for it every month.
Right.
Forget about it. Go to open it. Oh, your bills due.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, maybe I can't pay that right now.
Right.
I know I'm like that way with Audition. I can't stand getting those, like you open it up, there's been a billing issue. I'm like, which, you know, those programs are relatively cheap anyways. But, yeah, I mean, I like the hardware aspect of things just for the simple fact that maybe I won't have to do so much in post. Having the hardware, because I mean, I just got this mixer, and obviously he helped me with it before we even started, because it was madly confusing and we figured it out. But I've heard this mixer and other pieces of hardware that seem to help workflow a little bit better.
And everybody's different. Again, it's all subjective.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so I mean, I get that aspect of it, and so mostly everything you do is on your computer.
Right.
I got you. So just for folks that are maybe looking to get into music or any sort of post-production audio processing, where would you recommend they start? If they just have a computer to start there, is it necessary to have some sort of audio interface, I would imagine, even if it's not like a mixer?
Yeah, even like the small Scarlett, I think it's the
2i2. Yeah.
Even
you have to have
even
something, right, for your mic or your instrument and whatnot.
And if you're doing mics, I highly recommend using an XLR microphone into a interface instead of just plugging in a USB mic.
Right.
'Cause there's a lot of noise because the XLR cable is made to cancel noise.
Right. And the USB has power running through it, so that can
Right.
give you some issues as well. So let me see if I'm getting this right. The two types of mics, XLR, it's cardioid, dynamic cardioid, or dynamic condenser. What's the two different ones?
There's dynamic,
Okay.
which is like a handheld mic,
Right.
like what you would use on stage.
Okay.
And then there's a large condenser diaphragm microphone.
Right.
And that's more studio stuff that's going to pick up nuances in a studio because studios are obviously quieter and you can have that intimacy.
It has a polar pattern that
the
it picks
voice.
that, right?
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and some mics, they've got a switch where you can be cardioid or omnidirectional if you've got like a group of people around it.
Right. Gotcha. So like this mic, for instance, I think it can be used for either or vocals, or like an instrument like a drum, because it does have like a switch in the back. So it has a flat and then it has a kick drum switch, if you will. So I think this Electro Voice RE320 is what we're using. I think this is considered dynamic cardioid, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not
I'll have to look up the
familiar
specs.
with this.
I'm not a spec guy. Just plug it in, turn it on, and hope it works.
Right.
You know. So, I think folks would be interested to know what type of software that you use. I think I already know the answer because we just said it. But go ahead and tell the folks if you don't
I
mind.
use Logic.
Logic. Okay. And then
I do just about everything in Logic.
Okay, gotcha. And then if you need to clean up stuff, Isotope.
That's a plugin that I use inside Logic.
Okay. Oh, okay, gotcha.
So Logic is my main DAW, and I'll bring the plugin in and do what I need to with the audio, and then print it to the track, and then that way I'm not eating up CPU running Isotope because it can be pretty taxing depending on what you're trying to fix with the RX.
Gotcha. So let me ask you a question because I've always wondered this. Obviously, Logic is much more advanced than Adobe Audition, for example. With Logic, I guess since you are working with audio from films, are you able to, like, how would one, because this is something I'm trying to figure out and I don't know the answer to it. In Logic, if you record audio, just basically like, let's just say I'm using my Mix Pre 3 over there, right, and have a shotgun microphone overhead to record dialogue. How does one turn that audio into like a 5.1 surround sound? Can you do that type of thing in Logic?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a 5.1 system in my studio that's in the process of being connected.
Okay. And when you say system, you mean like speakers?
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the 5 around you, and then the one is the sub.
Gotcha, yeah. So you can do that in Logic. That's pretty cool.
Right.
Now, can you do things like Dolby Digital or DTS mastering or anything like that?
Not with my setup
Okay.
right now.
Okay. But Logic is capable maybe of doing that? Or is that something totally different, like a different software?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it that hard yet.
Gotcha.
With theaters dying and everything, it's like,
Right.
how many people actually have 5.1 in their homes?
Right, exactly.
Sure, the audiophiles do, but I mean, everyone's watching movies on their phones now.
Right. Watching them on their phones
or with headphones. It's only just stereo.
Any films that you're currently working on, doing any audio for, that you can maybe share with us and share your experiences, or just share your experience in general when working on audio for a film? Like, what would be your process, if you will, if you can divulge that process from the time you get the audio to the time that you master it and send it back out?
First thing I do is just hit the dialogue, clean up the dialogue, anything that needs to go away. Surgical EQing, which is when you find the harsh spots in the dialogue and just bring them down so they're not hurting your ears.
Right.
That's a big thing that I hear with dialogue. It's just the frequencies in them that are still there that shouldn't be. Or for me personally, I'm very sensitive to the higher range. So like the S's, So I usually a de-esser is one of the first things I do. Because even in things I'm watching on Netflix, it's like I'm cringing because the S's are so strong.
Yeah, yeah.
But nobody around me is.
Right.
So like maybe that's just me. And
Right.
again, that's the subjectivity of it.
Right, gotcha.
So you start with the dialogue and get that all cleaned up and even. Then you figure out what space they're in. Then you add in the room tone. Hopefully they got 30, 60 seconds of room tone for the scene. It's going to match the dialogue, so you can just sneak that under and even out everything in the dialogue without hearing the cuts in it.
Gotcha.
And then from there you do the Foley and throw in the music.
Gotcha. So, besides the record label, I guess it was a record label that you mentioned earlier that you and your wife started.
No, it's our band actually.
It's your band. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. So
No.
you do have a studio. So are you a studio for hire for anyone who is looking to get their music mastered or any sort of post production for their film?
Yeah, I don't consider myself a mastering engineer.
Okay.
By any sense of the means. Can I get you radio ready? Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of what I do in music is like the smaller stuff.
Okay.
For other people.
Okay.
Because I don't have a big studio.
Right.
So like singer-songwriters, they've written their songs on guitar and such, and come in and it's like, I want to have like a whole band feel on this.
Okay.
I could provide that.
Okay. So mostly like solo artists and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay.
And we can add any instrument that you want in it.
Cool.
But it's as far as like bringing like 5-piece band in or whatever.
Right.
I don't have the space for it.
Gotcha. That's a little bit much.
Yeah, I usually send those guys up to Charlotte to Shady Palms Productions.
Okay.
Shout out to T for everything he's done for me. I met him at Guitar Center, and he's the reason why I'm using Mac and Logic.
Oh, okay.
Now.
Gotcha.
Because I was on PC and struggling.
Yeah.
It was just like my PC was dying.
Oh, yeah?
And like I needed to make some huge change. Mm-hmm. And we just hit it off and became friends, and now we're working together.
Gotcha. That's cool. Nice to make connections, right?
Yeah, he was trained by Mark Steele out in Cali, who has won a lot of Emmys for post-production sound design. He worked on one of the Wayans brothers films.
Oh, okay.
So, and now he's bestowing all this knowledge upon me that I'm just like soaking up like a sponge.
Oh, yeah. Give it to me, right?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Right on. So that's good. And the name of your studio, is it just you, your brand, or is it a name to your studio?
I call it the Griffin's Lair Studio.
Okay. And you are based out of where?
I mean, technically, the address is Piedmont, but I'm right on the line between Piedmont and Greenville.
Okay.
So I say Greenville.
Okay.
Because
This sounds better.
Well, you say Piedmont, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Wow, you're way out there," but I'm not.
Yeah. I used to live in Piedmont quite a few years ago. Place is really coming up now, especially like when you get off on what is it, exit 39 or 40? It's 153 right there. I think it's called 153.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's growing so much.
I'm 10 minutes from there.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. The only thing I don't like about going that way is if I have to go to Easley, you have to go all the way through Piedmont, unless you go like some sort of back way, which I don't know. But
Right.
yeah, that's the reason I had to go to Easley like a week ago, and I was like, wow, Piedmont's growing big time.
Right.
I mean, it's like a little mini Greenville on 153 now, and I'm like, whoa, they're definitely growing big time. And I wonder why Anderson, where we're at right now, can't do the same. But anyways, that's another story. Yeah. So any big plans? I know COVID has affected a lot of us. Possibly, like you said earlier, it's affected the music things that you've been doing.
The touring of it, at least.
Yeah, the touring of it.
With my wife and Antler Hill, we were touring Comic-Cons for 5 years.
That's cool. I want to go to one.
Never been?
No, never been.
it's an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah. I'm happy to take a break from it.
Okay.
You know, it was fun, but it's like I just like being in the studio
Right.
much better.
Gotcha.
You know, because I don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
I've got a studio in my house.
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, you know, and that's cool to take a break from something. That way you can kind of cleanse your mind or try to a little bit and then, you know, maybe get back at it. And is that the plan once everything goes back to normal, I guess?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, right now I'm just taking it one day at a time, trying to find more and more films and projects to work on, and just I'm loving it.
Gotcha.
Thankfully, and I know a lot of people are hurt by the shutdown and everything, but for me, it's like all the directors that I was waiting on suddenly had all this time to finish their films.
Mm-hmm.
So everything shut down and I got flooded with stuff.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, which I'm happy to be busy, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to keep working in such a strange time.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's good, especially if you're doing something that you enjoy doing.
Right.
And then you get to work from home, and that's a good thing. You get paid for it. So that's even
Right.
better, right?
And even if I don't like have anybody breathing down my neck about something, I'm still just always in there and just playing with things and trying to learn.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's really important. I think with anything you do, you know, whether it be music, photography, videography, you know, I can't stress enough that practicing, you know, and progress before perfection, just learn everything as much as you can, like the back of your hand.
Right. Just keep your head down and work hard.
Right. Because it'll definitely show out through your work,
Exactly.
you know. So
Let your work speak for yourself. And that's something I touched on at the meeting. You know, it's not about talking about what you're doing. It's doing it.
Right. Right. At least taking the steps to do it.
Right.
You know, because I see a lot of folks have a hard time overcoming just the fear of starting, you know, and then maybe
fear of failure.
Right. Right. And then maybe somewhere along the line, they become a little stagnant and their motivation goes down. And like you said at the event, like, don't just talk about it, do it, and progressively try to get better at what you're doing.
Right. And if you're doing it, and it's like everybody measures success in a different way. For me, if each project you do is a little bit better than the last, then you're successful.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that should be something that everyone strives for, you know, just doing a little bit better.
Right.
And like myself, I'm my harshest critic. You know, I'll have people look at
We
something.
all are.
Yeah. I'll have people look at something and they'll be like, that looks great. And I'm like, but it could be better, you know? And
It can always be better.
Right.
That's just it.
Right. And I think that's when you kind of fall in love and get passionate about what you're doing, especially if you want to get better and you want to see a better result or a different result, because it's not I don't think it's so much about as being like someone else or excelling to a certain person's level, because everyone, I think, needs to find their style.
Exactly.
Because just like you said, like something that I may like or you may like, someone else may not like. So again, it's subject. But I think once you find your style in your creativity, then you become so much more passionate about it.
Right. And be yourself.
Right.
You know, because you're the only you.
Yep.
So everybody strives to be somebody else or these influencers or following this path. And you can take notes from people. But what I always tell people is create your own path.
Right.
I mean, yeah, is it a little bit harder? Probably. But at the end of the day, when you look back at what you just plowed out, you're like, I did that.
Right. It'll define you.
Right.
And then people won't think about this person or that person because you made yourself an identity for yourself.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, I strive for quality, but not equality, if that makes sense, when it comes to someone else's work. I don't want to be equal of what they are. I want to like define my style and my scope of work.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's very important. I think a lot of people get caught up in trying to be like someone else.
Right.
So.
And years ago, when I was playing around live events and stuff, this was before the Comic-Cons and whatnot, just any open mics or whatever I could find. It was like I would have this conversation with a lot of the other musicians, and it's like, oh man, I just like they would ask if I knew these covers to play along with them, and some of them I did, but the majority of the time I'm just like, I don't do covers. Like it's not my thing. And they're like, but that gets you out in front of people, and I'm like, well, I can't. Like I'm no good at playing other people's songs. I'm terrible. I butcher everything. Right, but in the long run, that's helped me because everything I've released is original music. Because I own it.
Right.
And that has helped the film scoring because, like, you don't do covers of film scores really out at open mics or whatever.
Right.
So it's like up until starting the film scoring, I had this catalog of work that was all original. And it was like I can show the creativity that I can bring to your film.
Right.
And a lot of the songs I was writing had these orchestral elements in it. So it was all just kind of, film scoring was always the goal. So it was just slowly stepping up to it. And everybody was like, man, you got to do covers. And I'm like, no, I don't.
Don't have to do anything.
Right.
Right.
I don't have to listen to you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that puts yourself in such a good position because if they're going to use your music, on a film, well, one, that's got to make you feel great. And then two, they're paying you instead of paying to license it with someone else, right?
Right.
Is that a correct assumption?
Right.
Okay.
But what I thrive on is writing for film. That's my happiest.
Gotcha.
You've got this film in front of you, and it's like, okay, bring this up a notch. And you've got the spotting notes, and what that is a spotting session with the director. Is they'll come over and we'll watch the film. Yeah, sometimes very slowly, just piece by piece, and then he'll jot down, okay, this is what I want to bring out here. I want to bring out this character's thought when he does this or that, or if there's temp music in the film, that'll help give me an idea of sonically where they're trying to go with the film. And temp music is temporary music.
Okay.
So they'll throw in something from John Williams or Danny Elfman or whoever, and just as a placeholder to be like, here's to try to explain to me what they want instead of trying to explain it in words or musical terms. But I don't, for me, I like it explained in emotional terms.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You don't have to know any music terminology or whatever. It's emotion. So as long as me and the director or producer, whoever's the captain of the ship on the movie, all arrive on the same page, then that's all that matters.
Right.
Right. My job is to make them happy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And that's also too got to be a good feeling because you can kind of listen to them and see where their vision is, and then if you can create that for them, that's got to be a good feeling too.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of writing and music, what's your favorite instrument?
That's tough. I started on piano, and then I taught myself guitar, so it's kind of...
Well, pick two, I guess. You can pick two. The ones that you would like to that you like working with the most. Put it that way. Maybe not necessarily your favorite.
Piano and guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the most versatile, I guess. As with the piano, then comes synthesizers, and then that's where you can layer all the orchestrations and stuff.
Gotcha.
And guitar, it's hard to fake a guitar with a virtual instrument.
Right, right.
They're getting better, and it's kind of creepy, but there's just something about a real guitar or a real acoustic that you can't really fake.
Right.
You know? And same with a bass.
Right.
Like if you want that
Doom, 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 doom. Yeah.
certain type of bass, it's just there's only a certain number of things you can do on a keyboard.
It's a distinctiveness to a real instrument
Right.
versus something digital. Yeah. So, yeah, I can imagine that it's much better having the physical.
Right. If you can. If you can.
Right, right. Because, I mean, a lot of times, like we were talking earlier, if you're a solo artist, maybe you just do vocals. Maybe
Right.
Maybe you don't have instruments. So,
Right. Or you write songs on a guitar with just some simple chords, and that's something I thrive on too, is like you've laid the groundwork, and now it's like, what style do you want to go in? Okay, then we can switch out the real bass for a keyboard bass or something if you want that sub bass sort of sound out of drum machine.
right.
We can go anywhere you want. And that's what I love about music. There's no rules, and if they tell you that there's rules, it's like, no, there's not.
You can do anything.
Especially in film music. Like you can really do anything in film music. Pop music and rock, it's a little more tied up, but you can still do whatever you want.
Right, right. That's the beauty about music. It's somewhat endless.
Exactly.
The possibilities, the sound, and even with so many years of music, right? I still hear people developing different sounds, and that's really still surprising. I guess
Right?
it's much like fashion; it's never over.
Yeah.
You know
it's
what
like,
I mean?
hadn't it all been done? And then it's like somebody comes out with something new, and it's like,
Right.
guess not.
Right.
I was wrong.
I mean, and there's a lot that sound the same, but it's nice to hear that refreshing tune from time to time and that different sound.
Right.
Yeah, especially for me with film, more so than just general music. Kind of like you, I love like scores and stuff like that. I'm a nerd. You guys already know this. I love Superman, but the score that was done for Man of Steel is my favorite.
Yeah.
Just favorite. It's and I'm partial because it's my favorite movie too.
Okay.
Yeah, but
That's okay.
yeah. But now that Zack Snyder is doing his cut of Justice League, Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL are
Right.
doing a new score for that. So I'm really excited to hear that.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of movies, is there a particular score on a movie that you really like, that really resonates with you, that's your favorite?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Birth of the Penguin.
Okay.
The beginning of Batman Returns,
Okay.
when they're walking his bassinet, over the bridge.
Right, right.
And that whole just sweeping with the choir and everything. It was just, that's always stuck with me from being really young.
Oh, wow. Gotcha. Yeah, I remember that. I actually just watched that a couple weeks ago. Those were the good Batmans back in that day with Keaton.
Yeah.
Clooney, heck no. And Val Kilmer, heck no. But the ones with Keaton were great.
Agreed.
Yeah, the music was great. The score was great. The look of the film was great. But yeah, that's interesting. So 2021, we've decided that you're going to, well, not we, you've decided that you're going to stick to, the music and the production for films.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, right? Anything that is in the works that maybe we can expect from you or see from you or hear, actually?
All right. I'm working on a film called Rescued, done by Daljeet Khalsi.
Okay.
Starring Merritt Van. It's a drama about a guy and his dog.
Okay.
And it gets pretty emotional at times.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't really know what all I can say about it.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool. But I got to keep things under wraps.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure when the projected date for that one is, but I'm looking forward to that one.
Gotcha. So, is there any advice let's talk about, obviously music and films, besides just maybe the hardware or the software aspect of it. Obviously, much like photography and videography, you have to have a vision. And for music, obviously, you have to have your ears and a still a mental vision for it, I would imagine, because you have to use your brain.
Right.
But what advice could you give someone, say, for instance, if they say, I want to start doing sound for movies? Like, not necessarily where to start with hardware or software, but just maybe the mental part of it. Like how to process that type of thing, you think?
Do you mean like the post-production or the scoring aspect of it?
Well, both, I guess. Let's start with post-production.
Okay. Well, just kind of training your ear. Just listen to movies on your studio monitors if you can, because that's the room you're going to be working in. So it's like, what are the pros doing?
Right.
And it's like the longer I've done this, I can hear when the ADR kicks in, and that's additional dialogue replacement or however you want to acronym it. That's when sound on set isn't captured well enough to be used in the final product, so they'll have the actor come into the studio and sort of re-deliver their lines to picture.
Okay.
And that way you've got a clean take and you mix that in, and if you've done your job right, you can't tell it.
Gotcha. So just...
Which about 75, 80, if not more, % of audio and film is added after the fact.
Oh, okay. That's a fun fact.
Yeah. Unless you're Christopher Nolan, then like in Interstellar, there were 6 looped lines in that whole film. Everything else was captured on set.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a big advocate of no ADR if you can help it.
Get it right the first time.
Right.
I just couldn't see how that could be possible. But I
Right.
mean, because things just happen.
But again, a lot of people complained about the audio in that film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was a good film. I thought the audio was good. But again, subjective.
Exactly.
That's the whole word. And for this episode, everything is subjective.
Right. So if somebody is like, I don't really like what you did,
Okay.
that's okay.
Because there's probably a ton of people who did, and there's others like you too. But if the
Right.
offset, it's good enough. But really, I think, and that's okay to have people to have opinions. We all have them, you know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's about how you feel about your work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you happy with what you've done?
Right. Exactly. And speaking, we talked about the post production part. The scoring part, I would imagine you have to have some sort of musical background.
Me personally, aside from the keyboard lessons when I was a teenager, I'm all self-taught.
Okay. Yeah.
I just love music and scores. Growing up, I had the little talk boy from Home Alone 2. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I would record the music sections off the movies and then just play it back just on a loop.
Oh, wow.
Or when I was playing Batman, whenever I had the theme going, because you had to have the music.
Right.
Like I always had to have music.
Right. Yeah.
Because that sets the scene.
It's your reference,
Exactly.
your master reference for everything.
Right.
That you're wanting to do, and like you said, if you drill that in your head and just keep listening, like you'll know kind of like a pattern.
Right.
I would imagine.
Yeah. So you want to get scary here? So add a bunch of dissonance or whatever the director wants, but you've sort of created this toolbox for yourself when somebody says, I want this or this. If you want something very emotional, you can use like suspended major chords. And I don't know if I'm getting too technical, but that same musical idea is what they use in churches.
Okay.
Because they want you to feel something.
Right.
They want to expound on what they're talking about. So that's what the music is doing. In that sense, the music is score. Because it's...
While they're telling a story.
Right.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. I'm gonna do music scores now. I got it. It's too easy.
It's too easy, yeah.
I'm kidding. But yeah, that's pretty cool. It's really good insight. One other thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Preference in equipment. We talked a little bit about software. Obviously, you use Logic. Do you have certain equipment that you like better than others?
Yeah.
Maybe microphones, headphones. I see you brought a Samson today.
Yeah. These, I really enjoy these, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I really love Atom Audio
Okay.
and their speakers. Are you
I'm
familiar with them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I highly recommend them.
Okay.
Even their entry series, the T series,
Okay.
is fantastic.
Okay. Well, for studio speakers.
Right.
Monitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're called. Not speakers, monitors.
Yeah. Studio monitors, and that's what I use right now.
Okay.
I've got the T7Vs with the T10S sub.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, it's there's so much detail that you can hear in them, and it's like I could upgrade, but these sound
Amazing.
great right now.
For you. Yeah.
Right, for what I'm doing in
Right.
in the space that I'm in, they sound great.
Well, heck, man, I was just going to get a pair of Mackies and call it a day, but now I got to look at those.
No, Atom Audio,
Audio?
man.
Okay.
I'm telling you. And the 5.1 system that's on loan from T at Shady Palms Productions in Charlotte, it's the Focals.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of those too.
Yeah, and right now I'm using the two Focals and the Atoms, switching back and forth for referencing on music and score stuff.
Gotcha.
Just to hear how it sounds on other speakers, which is another thing that's good to do. Because it sounds good on these speakers, but, you know, your buddy plays them at his house, and it's like...
Right. Same way with, like, monitors, and the picture may look different on here.
It looks
than
different
here.
because their settings are different.
Right.
Exactly
right.
the same thing. So you've got to find that kind of middle ground where it sounds good on everything you have.
Right. That makes sense.
And in that vein is taking care of your room, room correction. I'm a fan of the SonarWorks.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that,
Haven't
but that's
heard of it. Is that like
something to
acoustic
look
treatment?
into. It's software.
Oh, software. Okay.
So it's a program, and if you have a mic, you can use the one you've got, but it's a specific measurement microphone, and it plays tones through your speakers, and you measure it, and then it gives you a graph of how your room sounds at the sweet spot, and then it corrects it to be flat.
Gotcha. Nice.
So, and that helps too with just getting a flat response in your listening position.
Okay.
And why I like these, it does headphones as well.
Okay.
So you can pick from a drop-down menu, and these are on that menu.
Okay.
So it knows the response of these specific headphones and knows how to flatten them already.
Wow.
So you can flatten the room, flatten your headphones, and then have another pair of speakers to reference on. So you've got like three different types, and then you can run it through some like little USB desktop speakers or something, because that's the majority of what people have at their computers. You know, if they're watching on there or their sound bar or whatever, you can run your sound through that and see how it sounds.
Right.
You know, just try it on as many things as you can, because everything's going to sound different, and everyone's going to hear things different.
Right.
So it's trying to make everyone happy.
Right, which is hard to do.
Right.
You can't always get everyone happy at the same time. But, I mean, if the majority wins, then that's great, too. And what was the name of that software again?
SonarWorks.
SonarWorks. Okay. I'm going to check that out for sure.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Okay. SonarWorks and Atom Audio.
Yeah. Yeah, and my main keyboard is a Korg Cross. the first one, the 88 weighted one, and that thing has been with me for years. Like I was looking into other things, and I got another keyboard controller that had a bunch of like faders on it, and it was just not up to the quality of this thing.
Gotcha.
I'm just like,
So you like that one then?
I sent it back, and I'm like,
Rocking
you know what? If it's not broke,
don't fix it, right?
don't fix it.
Yeah. So that's a Korg
Cross.
Cross. Okay. Gotcha.
KROSS.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, now you guys know what he uses for audio.
Yeah, my setup's pretty simple. You know, there's a lot of what I do is in the box, and I use a lot of Waves plugins.
But I'm sure it's quite capable though.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, I run a Mac Mini, maxed out. You know, the highest tier they had, and it hasn't bogged down yet. I mean, it's running strong.
Right. Yeah, I love Apple products. Love my MacBook. It's a 16-inch. I think it's a 2019. Yes, a 2019, the late 2019 version.
Okay.
But speaking of Mac, have you seen those new M1s?
I haven't.
They look so good.
Yeah.
They look the same. The performance looks really good.
Okay.
It's Apple's new silicon chip.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, and it's cutting through stuff like butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the Mac Mini, that's what reminded me to think about that. You can get the base model one, which is $699, and it's cutting through 10-bit video footage like nothing.
Wow.
And I have a hard time with this one, having supposedly a better processor, spec-wise. It's higher spec than the new M1 chips, but again, when you have your own technology on your own software, then obviously it probably is going to run a bit faster. So those intrigue me, the new Mac Mini M1s. I'll probably wait a year. There's nothing wrong with this.
Right. Yeah, you want to see how the compatibility goes with everything before you jump ship onto something like that.
Right, because there's definitely certainly a lot of programs that are not compatible with it.
And I've seen a lot of release notes saying, if you want to use our products, don't make the switch yet,
right?
Because we're still working on it.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I'm not in a hurry.
Right, right, exactly. And then probably by next September they'll have the M2 chips out, which are going to be super faster for probably around the same money. So yeah, like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right, because every update that you download is bigger. It takes up more room.
Right.
So that's why your computer is getting slower and slower.
Right, right. And that's why if anything, I'll invest into hard drives. To save up space or some sort of network attached storage, which I really want to do, but that's expensive.
Yeah, all my samples and film work is on an external.
Gotcha.
So I don't keep a lot on the Mini's hard drive at all. So I've got my external for work, and then I've got like a storage external for pictures and everything else.
Right, right.
All the older files that I don't want to throw away yet, but I might need them again.
Yeah, kind of keep them in a vault, just in case.
Right.
And I feel so bad sometimes because I have two of these drives here, these let's see 4 terabyte drives.
That's what I've got too.
Yeah, and it's like you go and you sift through them, right? Because you're running out of space, and you're like, do I really need this? Well, I need it later. Yep. And it's like,
so as you delete it, someone's going to be like, hey man, you got that file?
Yeah. Oh no. So, and it's like, it takes way too long to try to put all this stuff in the cloud, and it's with our internet connections and stuff. Like we got fast downloads these days, but not fast uploads. And I really wish I can move somewhere to where they have Google Fiber.
My buddy at T at Shady Palms just got fiber.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's like a gigabit up and down.
Right.
It's stupid.
I know.
And like right now we're getting 10 megabits like down. And I'm like, this is awful.
Right.
Even the upload's not that great. I mean, it's like 200 megs. You can get 400 meg package, but still not that great. And it also depends on what's on the other end receiving your data as well. But yeah.
Very true.
Yep. So yeah, this was good. We talked about hardware, software, music, both of your own, and then obviously what you do as far as production. So is there anything that you can think of that you want to leave to someone that's either just starting, or maybe they're into this and they've had some sort of creative or physical rut? I think that's what you talked about and touched about on the film, event that we had, but also we've done that here today as well.
Right. Well, for me, it was like when I was growing up, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be the one on stage, but I had a stutter, which is why I probably sound a little strange talking. But it's been kind of a good and bad. Yeah, it's frustrating for me because I stutter, and it's like I wish I didn't. But I started using a scarecrow as a symbol for Antler Hill and that band, because in certain mythologies, a scarecrow is a being that cannot walk or talk, but because he's planted in the earth, he knows everything that goes on in the world.
Oh.
So he's very smart.
Okay.
So I use that as a symbol to say that if you stutter or even if you're silent, it doesn't mean you're stupid or there's anything wrong with you, sort of the way Hollywood has made us out to be over the years. So, and getting into post-production and music scoring, I don't have to talk.
Right. Right.
Like I can make you feel something with my music without having any vocals in it or any words. It's just the music.
And that's powerful.
Right, and that's what I love about film music. But yeah, so I had posted about it on my Facebook that I had this surgery done, and I guess I can talk about it now.
Sure.
Since it's happened, I'm having to relearn how to talk again.
Oh, man. Didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah. Dude, you can't offend me.
Okay, good.
No. I've got pretty thick skin.
Gotcha.
Under your tongue, there's that piece of skin that kind of connects it to the bottom of your mouth.
Right.
Well, mine was bigger than it should have been.
Okay.
And it's called being tongue-tied.
Ah.
So I couldn't move my tongue. It's like if I was eating a hard candy or something, it would always get stuck under my tongue.
Oh, wow.
Because I can't like sweep the bottom of my mouth with my tongue because it's
Literally
connected
stuck,
down.
huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So I had that lasered off, and it was intense.
Right. I imagine.
For about 2 weeks, I wasn't sure if I had made a mistake because I couldn't speak. Like I had this horrible lisp because of it, and it was like, is this how I'm speaking now?
Thought it was supposed to help, right?
Right. Because I asked them, is there any negative to having this done? They're like, nope. The tech who was explaining it all to me, she was like, her husband and stepson did it, and everything's better. So I'm still learning.
Okay.
Like I had to relearn how to talk, had to relearn how to swallow again, because it was just the anatomy of my mouth had shifted.
And a big part was taken out.
Right.
Yeah.
So it took me 2 weeks to relearn how to like lick my lips because the muscles that I've been using all my life didn't do that anymore.
Whew, I couldn't imagine.
So my hope was that it would get rid of the stutter, but it hasn't. But it's still pretty early on. So it's turned into more of a tick than a stutter. When I was younger, I grew up not being able to say my own name. And with that, just compounded the shyness. And it was just a snowball of just, I don't want to talk. I don't want to try to talk.
Yeah.
I'm no good at it. And here I am talking on your podcast.
Boom. There it is, right?
Right. But I want to be an example to others who feel like me, especially young people who I can't imagine growing up with everything now and all the technology and just all the ugliness that used to be written on a bathroom wall is now
all verbal, all online. Yeah.
all over the world.
Yeah.
It's just like I feel sorry for the kids now because it's like there's there's no way to get away from anything.
Right.
To kind of just hide away and regroup.
Yeah. I agree, and it's tough, and I appreciate you sharing your story. That's really good.
Yeah, man.
And it's really motivating because you accepted it what it was.
It took a long time.
Yeah,
it took a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, you took steps to hopefully rectify what was going on.
Right.
And now that you've accepted it, you're working at it. And that's good.
Playing the Comic-Con, thank you, and playing the Comic-Cons and playing live in front of people and playing at spring flings and stuff in front of whole towns is something I'd always wanted to do, but it's like, realistically, there's no way I could be able to do that. And I did it for 5 years, just touring around and playing, and it's like I had horrible stage fright, and it was just doing it. You just have to do it.
Right.
Not think about doing it, not plan on doing it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just find your zone and do it, right?
Well, just get out there and make mistakes because you will.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yep.
I mean, so many times I tripped on stage, and it's like I would mess something up, and I would point it out to the whole crowd, like, "Hey, it's live."
Right.
And that's okay.
Yep.
Just
the real stuff is the best stuff.
Right. Just try to make it fun and real. I would dress up as a scarecrow and just like run around because everything. After I tripped over the guitar cord a few times, everything was wireless now. So the mic and guitar is wireless. So I'll run out in the crowd or whatever, and it's like, okay, I'm not the one being uncomfortable, but I might make you uncomfortable now.
Right. Gotcha.
But not in a mean way, just to liven things up, It's like you'd go to a show and there'd be a guy on a stool with a guitar and a mic the whole show. And it's like, no. Like, it's got to be a show, Bring people up on stage. Even if they don't know the words, it's like, but they have a good time.
Yeah, just create the atmosphere.
Right, and they'll remember that and be like, man, that was fun. And that's all I really want to do is just let people have a good time.
Gotcha.
It's like there's so much negativity in the world, and it's you would go to these Comic-Cons or to one of our shows or whatever to kind of decompress, like it's been a long day, let's go to the Comic-Con this weekend or go to this show, and it's like, let's just have fun, cut loose.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those things are no longer being able to be done, which sucks.
Yeah.
It takes a lot away from people. But I mean, I hope, I always used to say, like, it wasn't normal before, but now I want that sense of normalcy back. It makes you appreciate things.
I got you. Yeah. It really does. You don't notice it until it's not there.
Right. And, the whole wearing the mask thing and not having concerts, and it seems like Christmas parades and Thanksgiving parades are canceled. Just social things.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think about the
it's like the
Thanksgiving
one thing that I've waited on to be happy about all year.
Right.
For me is holidays. I love Christmas time, and I love the atmosphere that it brings. And I hope that we can, again, have some sort of normalcy to it. But it's hard right now, like you said.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, I guess.
We will, indeed.
Yep. So on that note, I don't want to keep you much longer. So I really do appreciate you coming on. This, obviously, guys, will be on my YouTube channel and then also on all the available audio platforms. And if you want to maybe drop some of your social links, you can.
Yeah. You can learn more about me at nlgcomposer.com.
Okay.
Or Facebook, NLG Composer, Instagram, nlg.composer.
Okay. That's the brand. Yeah. Neil Lee Griffin Composer.
That's right.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on to do this.
Hey, man, the pleasure's mine.
Yep. Likewise. And it was really fun and informative. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Small Talk, Bigger Ideas. And until the next one, take care.